Welcome back, guys. The last game of the season for me has started yesterday and also finished yesterday. We have kinda blitzed that one through. But it wasn't maybe as meaningless as I made it out to be in my last video. I am still fighting for second or third place. So if I win, third place is guaranteed for me, and second place is possible, depending on the results of Zaru versus PV4. If Zaru wins, I will end up to be second. And if PV4 wins, he wins the season and I end up third. And also for Gilgamesh, it's not entirely irrelevant. If he wins against me, he can still prevent the double relegation. So last place gets a double relegation in this league format. And he can prevent it by winning against me, and if Raffaello loses his last game against Gross. And Raffaello still fights actually for not relegating at all. If Raffaello wins against Gross, Gross is getting relegated and Raffaello stays. Yeah, so nonetheless, we both were in the same mood of blitzing that game more or less. We finished that in that day, yesterday. So I will actually try also maybe to do a bit of a quicker review here. Let's see how quick we can get without it being too sloppy. Okay, let's go right into it. I start with this Acropolis here. Yeah, it's a very good two-player wonder. We have Dietrich here. There is no... Wait, let's see. Yeah, I think the recording works as intended. We don't have those H2 Bach Shakespeare guys, but there's Gaudi Darwin. And in H3 there's Marlene Dietrich. I could maybe start with Urban Grove and go for another wonder, but there's no real reason. I get the Acropolis, which is just a good wonder in two-player, and then probably Hammurabi. Or most definitely. Gilgamesh has different options here and decides to go for Confucius, which is relatable. If he doesn't take him now, he will drop out of the row, so it's correct, I think, to take him now, and he still has the free choice between library and pyramids. So I think it's a more or less equal start for both of us. And like this, Hammurabi is also on 2, which costs me an extra civil action. But I still am very certain that it's correct to go for him. Gilgamesh elects Confucius and takes the pyramids. And goes for EG. We see here, I decide to just instantly go for Chishka. I have this fighting band and it makes the game simpler. So I elect him right away, play the tactic. I already have an MA and it's basically Jeanne d'Arc already without seeing the event. And if I build one warrior, I get another culture income, and I can, depending on my draw, maybe just go for some strength events also very cheaply. Last 2 civil actions is taking this alchemy. I think there are no other real alternatives to that. I could populate and maybe take a rich land, but this early alchemy is super good, especially in a game where you don't have Shakespeare Bach. But even in those games, I think an early alchemy is just always pretty good. If we remember my last game against Zaru, I think the worst thing that was going on in that game was the lack of science. And with alchemy, you are more or less set for the entire game in a 2-player game. We draw a Legion, which is irrelevant. Development of Warfare is revealed. Gilgamesh misses out on those, takes Swordsman, populates, builds a philosophy, takes Barbarossa, and yeah, against that setup I would be rather cautious, I would say, to seed strength events. But as of now, we cannot seed anyway. I decided to go for this Code of Laws over the Monarchy. Because I have the third military action already, I can't really take both cards here. That would mean corruption. And populate and also take the iron. Now, the plan is probably to start going for alchemy because, these two cards cost a lot of science, but with the alchemy, I also produce a lot of science. I think drama is also here, but it has, albeit it being good, with Dietrich in the game, there's no Bach, and those other cards have higher priority. And especially with an early iron, you are guaranteed an opera, and operas are arguably the better setup for Marlene Dietrich anyway. So Gilgamesh seeds with Confucius for the Confucius science, development of planning is revealed. And he goes for the masonry, develops it and builds the pyramids. So that's pretty efficient here. Pretty cool turn. Last civil action is populate. Doesn't take monarchy, which is a bit surprising to me. It's here just on one civil action. Especially with the pyramids, you are more or less set for the entire game. It gives some military action. Yeah, I personally would have. It didn't have corruption. Could just stay out of consumption and take monarchy here. I think that's, in my book, that would be objectively better. Development of religion is revealed, and I get the free religion. Gilgamesh also gets it. And here indeed, I decide to go for this alchemy, 2 upgrades. Still take that urban growth and populate. That urban growth might still be relevant in the future. I mean, the Acropolis gives an extra slot. It's possible to just build the religion, but it's also possible to just go for a third alchemy. So it will still do something. Could have considered cartography with the developed territory here, but we already have those high science cost cards in hand. There is no Suez Canal, and just for the knowledge, for the information of one territory, I think it's a bit awkward to spend the civil action on the cartography. So rather go for the certain value. Yeah, this has maybe more value potential, but this is the more certain value here, this urban growth. And we draw 3 cards, Reign of Terror, the new deposits and call to arms. What did we seed? Actually, I think it was a scientific breakthrough, if I remember correctly. Gilgamesh seeds development of settlement revealed, and here we see probably why he didn't want to go for the monarchy. He wanted to go for the theocracy, which has also some benefits. I kind of like it also. With Barbarossa, the extra happy face. But I would say still the monarchy is in most cases better. He doesn't have the code of laws. He will stay on 5 civil actions like that. It's often a little awkward to get off that theocracy. But that being said, I also do like it in many situations. It's a good game for a theocracy for him, I would say. Does go for the swordsman. Doesn't build them yet, he just develops it. Civil action efficiency wise. So, scientific breakthrough, it was indeed, and it is revealed already. That's pretty good for me because I can get the code of laws and iron out. And since I also get that EG, we are also guaranteed to still build this Acropolis before the age ends. And I think you want to do that. It will still come in handy for H2 for those government, cheaper government developments. Last selection is here, just the reserves. might be used for food. Yeah, I had nothing better to do than take these reserves as my last selection. Gilgamesh seeds and the rebellion is revealed, which doesn't affect anyone. It's seeded by him. Was seeded by him. Barbarossa is being elected. Theocracy Revolution, and that's a very cool turn. He uses Barbarossa, he goes to 5 strength. And yeah, we have drawn some strength events, like Reign of Terror border conflict. We haven't seen Uncertain Borders. We haven't seen Call to Arms. So it might realistically be that he puts some in there. I indeed decide to go for this Acropolis and can take a rich land still, swordsman in hand, for tactic options and maybe for having the option to defend the strength push in H2. Some early war draws from him. He can, in some circumstances, maybe very cheaply declare a war. So having those swordsmen in hand is kind of handy. I don't think I really plan to build them unless I don't really have anything else to do. So yeah. Defense card is revealed by Gilgamesh, so we both get 1 science. And he decides to go for this Himeji Castle. And that means he doesn't take iron here, which is understandable. It's very late. Sometimes you just don't play that iron if it's that late. In my experience, it can work out. It can also work out to stay on +3 the entire game, but it heavily depends on the length of the game then. 1 turn more or less at the end makes a huge difference then. A friend of me described it like, something like this. Trying out 3 signs, 3 rock income especially in a 2-player game can work, but it's really tight on resources, and most of the time you run out of steam at the end. That being said, he's not. That plan is not determined yet. He can still go for the coal, depending on when it drops. So just decides to skip that iron. I also experiment with skipping that iron a lot. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it feels very bad. Maybe it feels very bad to spend those 2 civil actions here. And it's hard to say. I understand that iron skip. Increases his strength somewhat. Only draws 1 card though now. But it was still H1 military action, so very understandable. Wealthy territory is revealed, and Gilgamesh wins that for 2 swordsmen though. So he does have to pay something for that. And if we look at this, it's a very reasonable decision in my book. He has the food income, he doesn't have the rocks. It's another reason probably why he skipped that iron. And with Barbarossa, he can very efficiently rebuild those swordsmen. So that's a very good decision to be willing to bid 2 swordsmen for this territory. I upgrade my iron, build another temple just because I have nothing else to do, more or less, maybe. Get the cultural heritage and that other growth. We are at this awkward 3 food position, but we also ceded some territory. Maybe, I think it was the developed. Can actually bid the pair, have 2 defense cards, so it's possible to win that and drop back down in order to be able to populate. Maybe one possible plan would have been to take this reserves for 2 here in order to then be certain to be able to populate. But I was not willing to do that. Super inefficient just in order to populate once. I'd rather go in on that one colony or hope to get a sailret, or just it's also possible that this resource is still available next turn. So yeah, not willing to pay 2 civil actions for that. And here, super good draw. Obviously, in a 2-player game, this fortifications is always makes the game a lot easier to play. This is arguably completely broken tactic, especially in a 2-player game where you can then play the entire game with only having spent very few civil actions, and especially then signs for a tactic that is enough until the end of the game. The Hussars is actually more or less the same. Even the Cavalryman Hussars for 4 strength fulfills all these criteria that I just listed. But the fortifications obviously even a bit better. Gilgamesh goes for this Himeji Castle, plays Patriotism, rebuilds one of the swordsmen, and is also willing to block food. Develop, takes selective breeding for 3 civil actions. And if you follow my channel, if you watch my videos, I often argue that food block doesn't really work out that well in 2-player. Somehow it's always possible somehow to just make work without that food income. It's not great to not be able to increase population as much as you want, but somehow it often works out. If we look at this, there's no ocean liner, but there's a statue, which is still an option at least. And there are also those random territories that more or less fix it. We have also those cards. We didn't see the vast territory, but it's still possible to draw H2 territories that can fix the food situation. He did pay 3 civil actions for this, which could be maybe an urban growth and reserves, or this justice system already, which looks super good for him. It's not the final, like, I wouldn't say it's final that you never should block food. I think there are definitely situations where it's correct. Whether this is one, I genuinely don't know. So maybe this is the best turn, but in my gut feeling, this is, you should be more cautious with when you do this, and my gut feeling says this is not the game where it's good, but it's hard. It's, as I say, it's not a final judgment. We seed also another territory, I think. Open the new deposits, which is pretty nice. I think I seeded that. I'm not entirely certain though, but I think I did. And it comes in very handy because it gives us this turn of taking and just building Harvard, which is super good. Especially when you are blocked on food, you want other things to invest into, and maybe that's one of the reasons that I didn't consciously see when I said my gut feeling says that food block isn't that great, but I still have this turn, which is just super good, and I couldn't have done both things anyway. So if I would have taken Sabret for 2 and then this wonder, it would mean corruption. Maybe I would still do it. Maybe I would then rather not take this Harvard College and just upgrade food already. Maybe that's also okay, but he paid 3 civil actions to block food. I still have a very good turn, so it depends on my next turns. But he has no immediate payoff from that. Yeah, if you get me. If he blocks food and that results in me having no turn whatsoever, that is obviously already maybe a better reason to go for that food block. But if you see, okay, I play those 3 civil actions now and he still has a very good turn, and I don't know, maybe he also has a good turn after that somehow, then maybe it's not that good. Yeah. This Harvard College now puts me to 7 science income, and which is definitely enough for the rest of the game. And it has this extra value for being able to play yellows immediately, which is very handy, which can also actually solve some food issues with playing reserves or frugalities. We do win this developed territory. I was willing to bid everything, I think. And only have to bid a warrior though. Gilgamesh goes for the justice system. Takes urban growth, takes breakthrough, takes reserves. Very efficient turn. Builds another lab, puts him +3 science. Yeah, very understandable turn. He might maybe consider going for his journalism, looks kind of good, but he does lack rocks. He does have this urban growth. Yeah, I understand that he's not going for his journalism here. Looks pretty expensive. Strategy drops. I'm willing to take that for 3. We see there's unlimited amount of science here, and I should maybe be somewhat afraid of a very cheap war by him. So if he gets that strategy, develops it, just builds maybe even more 2 swordsmen, and declares a war of attack or territory, I don't really know if I can defend that well. So that strategy for 3 is mandatory. It's in a lot of game states in 2-player mandatory to pay 3 civil actions for strategy. Actually, it's just such a good card. There's no always in Through the Ages, but it happens a lot that it's an auto pick. And we didn't develop it. We can't actually defend, but he doesn't know that. I think it was a bit greedy. What did I do instead? Builds the farm. Yeah, I wanted to get this food income out. There is, I don't know if there's maybe even a newly, what is it? Food income, good harvest. Yeah, I wanted to get this food income. Maybe it's a bit greedy because he just saw that we spent 2 defense cards on colonizing, and I think if I had an aggression in his spot, I would often try it just to check. But like this, we have the food income and can get some extra populations out at some point. Yeah, he does not try an aggression. He seeds, reveals science, uses Barbarossa, goes for Darwin. It's a bit annoying because he has a religion, but can probably just fix it with the team sports, which he does. Can still play resource for food, populate, and just build that. And that looks very coherent. Darwin is a good leader in this deck. Produce 3 culture. He has 6 civil actions, and then just having those extra few civil actions for tax. That's a very good decision in my book. Also goes to 15 strength like that. Was just very efficient, could still use Barbarossa, which is kind of threatening here a bit. I do get the Republic here for 2. He wasn't bothering to block that. I think it might be an option, but his turn was very coherent like this. And yeah, I would have also just gotten this common if he did block it. But I prefer the Republic, especially since I have the strategy also in hand. And we see the Acropolis working almost Stonehenge levels of science already. So just 4 science right now. We will still have the possibility of science discount for an H3 government. And can just go for this Republic strategy. This looks super good. Take Opera in hand as option, for options for Marlene Dietrich. I think I did consider some terms where I didn't take it. Yeah, because this Rev idea looks not that important for us, but somewhat important for him. And in the end, I wanted this Opera in hand to have Dietrich options. If I don't take it, this one will be gone. Yeah, and here two options, Gaudi or Napoleon, and I take Napoleon because I think culture is more or less equal, but he is a bit threatening here. It can be a bit annoying if he has the defensive army, especially. Then I think we are in a position where we just don't want to die randomly, and then Napoleon is just better than Gaudi. Gaudi also, we don't have excessive amounts of food, obviously, and what Gaudi will do is some culture income and 1 time 2 science. And Napoleon saves us in a lot of situations from some devastating wars, so I prefer him here. Uncertain borders is revealed, which is pretty annoying always, but there was no way we could contest that. Gilgamesh goes for a navigation, which maybe telegraphs 1 or 2 territories in there. There's still a historic territory ceded by us, so in that sense, already good for him. It's also just some extra annoying strength for him. It does cost him a bit, I would say. He doesn't have excessive science. And maybe he's a bit unlucky also in a sense that there's still a coal. And it will be interesting if he still wants to go for that. But then he's very tightly knit on science. Yeah, still does get the rev idea here, and probably this breakthrough will go his way. And then it will be interesting. He doesn't take this opera, doesn't bother with the Dietrich option. Populates instead. It saves us a food if the H ends. Yeah, I would probably always take this opera in hand, just for the option. He doesn't necessarily need to build it, but I would probably take it in hand always in that game state. There's also Chaplin and Hollywood, so yeah. I do not see it go for Napoleon here, and I think it's necessary to build again, and we already see the value of Napoleon. Without him, we would probably need to dispense something, maybe the food, maybe the warrior, build it into cannons, play the tactic, reveal the tactic. Maybe he does telegraph a defensive army, but maybe he doesn't even have it. The classical army we see here. That would be the 2 devastating tactics with 4 swordsmen. Yeah, but Napoleon takes care of being able to defend. And we can still go for this architecture here. It's super good if we somehow manage to still go for some operas. Right now we do lack the people, but you can always like maybe get one of those guys over there. Although we do have also some happiness issues. Disband the warrior maybe. It will maybe somehow be possible. There's also still a statue here or an Eiffel Tower. I think I would prefer to get the statue here. But we definitely will get one of those, which will definitely help our civilization here. So e.g. cavalryman for H3 options, or maybe even reduce his options. I think it's the second cavalryman. Yeah, he doesn't have cavalry then. So also really nothing better to do. I would prefer possibly taking yellow cards here, but there are not any yellow cards here, and paying 3 civil actions seems kind of awkward. Then this tactic option for H3 and denying him some tactic options, I think is a good idea, and can still play this cultural heritage and just develop this architecture. This urban growth is dead, but that happens sometimes. Historic territory is revealed, and I am willing to bid 1. Don't want to share some information, how much defense cards I have. and he would. Yeah, I would win it if he wasn't willing to bid for it, but why wouldn't he? It's still good for him also. So he does bid the swordsman, gets the historic territory, and we can maybe more or less expect there to be at least one more territory because he went for this navigation. He does take the cannons, builds the cannons, and I'm starting to get some small PTSD. Is there a defensive army again? He doesn't, if he has it, he doesn't reveal it yet. Wants to draw cards instead. Maybe he still wants to draw a war or something. Yeah, like this we can indeed go for, decide not to cede. Maybe don't want to, okay, we see the politics of strength, but maybe don't want to run into refugees here. Or there's also just not really any events I want to see here. The prosperity sounds not bad, but if you look closer, he also doesn't have the best food income, but more happy faces. And it might just turn out to be better for him. And national pride's uncertain. Maybe or it rather looks like we don't win that here. Economic progress, he did skip the coal, but he will get some food income, or yeah, especially maybe the more valid reason to be cautious to see this is two things. He's sitting in the back. It's always a bit better for the guy in the back, I feel, because he can have it like a round earlier than you if he reveals it after you played. And then also he has a lot of blue cubes, which means he will very likely get the full value of 3, and I will very likely only get the small value of 4. And then in relation, that is better for him. Yeah, if I'm on 6 income and he's on 3 extra rocks is better for him than 4 extra rocks for me, in a relational sense. So, I mean, it's playable, but I would be cautious and I'm not willing to cede into possible strength or even happiness events. And then there's Ravages of Time, which I think is not that great. I mean, killing the pyramids is okay, but you definitely don't want to trigger it before you get an H3 government here. And Politics of Strength is obviously not playable here in this situation. So, ceding. No to ceding. Yes to Statue of Liberty. Just go for that with the EG. It helps a lot here with happiness issues and maybe enables me even to get 1 or 2 extra populations out in the long run. I do take both efficient upgrades because there's really nothing else to do with those last civil actions, and they can still work for actually oil and of course the mechanized agriculture. I did contemplate computers shortly here, but if we look at the leaders for H3, there are no really great computer leaders. So if there was a Bill Gates here, or maybe even Sid Meier, I would definitely consider it, but purely for the science, I don't think it's reasonable since we are on 20+7 science. This will be enough. This computers is then overkill if there's no really good synergy with that. And Marie Curie is not a really good synergy. She's more of a she's an underwhelming leader and 2-player. And Steve Jobs can work, but that is not enough reason to go for this computers aggressively. Steve Jobs also cannot work for me very well. He works maybe for him if you have a good H2 leader and you would just take Steve Jobs in hand at some point and then elect him in the last or penultimate turn, then he can create a lot of value per turn. Then if you just get 3 or 4 or 5 technologies out with him, that's more or less just an H3 wonder that you just got there. So there are some situations where Steve Jobs works extremely well actually, but not as a continuous H3 leader unless you are very desperately needing those happy faces. So, yeah. But with Napoleon and in my entire situations, yeah. In the sum, computers are not something I want to go for here. Gilgamesh, Seeds, and Civil Unrest is 3B. We dodged that one. He indeed does go for the computers, which is very expensive. He spends all his rocks for that, more or less. He could have considered maybe going for this oil. I mean, just taking it. He cannot really upgrade it, I think. Or could he? No. That's 2 to 11, right? That's 11. Yeah, it was 9 rocks, and if I'm not totally mistaken, he had only 8 rocks. Yeah. So it was not an option to develop it now, but or to upgrade it now, but upgrade it next turn maybe. Like this, he goes for these computers. He does also benefit from the science income still. And maybe that oil is still an option after this. Like this, he also gets this urban growth still and the frugality. So yeah, it is a coherent turn. And yeah, for all the reasons I discussed, maybe also for him the computers are not that great. Maybe you could have also considered to go for multimedia, but yeah, couldn't build that either. Could just build it next turn. Yeah, I'm not entirely certain if I'm such a fan of the computers in this game state. Hard to say. If we take a look at the game, actually, it is kind of open, I think. He does have more culture. It's not that few, it's 13 more culture. I'm only at +6. And we have this food problem still. There are no people available, more or less. So it will be hard to catch up actually, because it will be hard to create a lot of culture income. So maybe he's ahead, but he has this problem that he's on +3 rocks. And yeah, he has 6 civil actions and a lot of rocks in hand, but if we look at it, this patriotism wave with only 3 MA, it doesn't look like he has a defensive army. Otherwise, I think he might have been willing to play it already to create some more pressure. And he doesn't have that information, but we still have this fortifications. We are safe in military. Maybe we can even threaten some military with the very efficient Marlene Dietrich Air Force push. If he is too greedy. Yeah, I would say this game is super open as of now. Both sides can win this. And we have the rock situation and a lot of science, but yeah, like food, and he's a bit ahead here. Can go for the satellites, as discussed. It smells like there's still a territory. It's also just good for impacts. We have a lot of science and civil actions, so it's more or less free. Still get the reserves for food as that play that I mentioned, enabled by the Harvard College, which enables us to populate and build an opera, disband the warrior, and build another opera. So this goes to +12, and if he doesn't follow up with some culture income, this is already enough to catch up. That was the entire turn. Didn't really have civil actions to take those wonders, but they are very expensive. So Fastball Chains is solid. Will be like 20 culture in the end, but it costs 4 civil actions now. It would have cost not building an opera, maybe taking corruption or something. So I wasn't willing to do that. Internet is, I won't be able, this one, it doesn't look like it's going to be a good internet at some point. Yeah, and then there's still Hollywood and Empire State Building. Both can actually work out quite well, I would say. And yeah, these wonders were not an option. I did consider before this turn also something like going for oil and transcontinental railroad. It looked delicious, but I think if I don't start creating culture income now, then he might be running away with that. And all this economy that I built up with this turn is not going to pay off soon enough. I think the game will be over until I'm in a surplus with this, or in a surplus that I can really reap. Yeah, purely rock-wise, I will be in a surplus quite soon, probably. Especially then, this is also an option. But it still delays building operas for maybe 1 or 2 turns, and then it's just not worth it, I think. It's a bit too late. And here was a little interesting. I get rid of the war, and I think 1 or 2 turns later I was a bit sad about that, because I just get rid of this very efficient option to declare a war in the end. And I think I wasn't careful enough there. Still wanted maybe the option to go for this economic progress at some point, because it still can be possible to enable a better wonder with that or something like that. But I think I should have kept the war here. Objectively, it's a good situation to have that war in hand. Gilgamesh seeds and reveals a weighted territory, which he can get for just the swordsman. So that's obviously super huge when you are on +3 rocks. He got both the weighted territories in this game, yeah? Super cool. He has all the blue cubes that you can dream of. Can populate. Plays Reveille, and he goes for a multimedia here, so he does follow up on the culture income. Has a 4 culture income leader here. Takes another urban growth, yeah, but that means no oil. And will be interesting to see if he runs out of steam at some point or not. He does have this extra rocks here, so maybe for him it would still make economical sense to go for the oil, but it's also hard to say. Like this, that's also economy, right? Still science income enables possible impacts and gets this urban growth. So yeah, I do understand that turn over the oil. Might also just be a bit too late for him even. Do see there's also some extra rocks he had knowledge of and I didn't. Arms industry. And here the mech is available and I go for it. Still have those efficient upgrades. I'm only willing to upgrade 1 though. Still want the civil service actually, because I think especially since it gets me out of corruption. I had some variations of the turn where I then didn't take it, but then after I revealed the arms industry, this is corruption, and then I was forced to go for the civil service. Still have a lot of science. It does mean that it's a little harder to go for an H3 government and air forces, especially. Both of them will be then hard to do, but it's still an extra civil action. Good for impacts. Yeah. So you get this EG, which can be, or has a lot of value with both of these wonders being possibly very good. As of now, I think even the statue is maybe something I can aim for. Maybe I can have 4 categories. I'm not going to surpass him in science, but maybe in all the others actually. Don't bother with those first air forces. He doesn't look that threatening. Or maybe on second thought he actually does look somewhat threatening, since he gets the military theory now. Maybe it was also a bit greedy to not take it. But he first of all goes for another multimedia, so creates even a bit more of a lead here. Does take military theory, efficient upgrade, can still work for this, I guess, for the computer upgrade. Takes tanks in hand and upgrades a computer already. That is very expensive, 7 rocks. That was not with a yellow card. Now he's only at 1 plus 3, and then I don't really need to be afraid, I think. He does have only this patriotism available and cannot trigger this wave unless I enable him to do that. Also doesn't bother with this Reverdeer. Iconoclasm is revealed. It was played by him actually, and that's pretty good for us because our leader in the end didn't do that much. I'm still happy that we went with Napoleon. He enabled me to be pretty greedy here. But as of now, his leader does 4 culture income and a lot of civil actions, and my leader doesn't do anything, and I get the replacement here. I would have gone for Marlene Dietrich either way, so I lose a civil action. But he loses 4 culture income. I think that's good for us. There are some impacts here. We didn't see it, right? Oh yeah, we did. What did we see it? I don't remember. Maybe it's something like progress. There are some impacts in there, like I think it was impact of progress here. Maybe wonders also. Maybe it's something I still draw. We will see. I can go for Dietrich. I can take the Hollywood in hand. And I still have a coherent turn. Even get this Reverdeer, so this civil service already worked. Did some work here. And yeah, should not forget to still play those fortifications. Otherwise they might be gone after this turn if he ends the age. Puts us equal. That actually enables him some wave of nationalism shenanigans. If he swaps to some other tactic first. Yeah, but I think it was no option to not play those fortifications. And he does declare war, but a war over territory. He does go for another tactic, has found the mechanized army, can play the wave of nationalism, and can actually get quite strong. 37. But that's also everything he has. He's now on 2+1 rock. Maybe should consider here the philosophy instead of the rock. Could still make a difference. Yeah, but he has some lead here. Or actually it's not that big anymore, since I already had this 18 culture income. And he just lost some culture income, so it's more or less equal here. And we use seeds. Now again, no idea what. And popularization of science is revealed, so that is maybe the reason for the extra computer upgrades. It's like a 10 culture impact here, so it's a lot. And my first intuition was to just completely ignore this war, because 3 doesn't do anything. But I think we have to be careful of a follow-up war over culture or even aggressions. I think even aggressions can be enough. Okay, that display was just wrong. So he indeed is at 118. Why I just paused too early. So he does have a bit of a lead here, more than 10 culture. Yeah, some follow-up aggressions could be enough to win the game for him, I think. If he wins 2 aggressions here, I think he's winning. So I do go all in more or less on defending that with the air forces and the fundamentalism, which puts me right into defense distance with 1 defense card. Can still take a Reverdeer in the end. And this is still enough to build Hollywood. And also even an opera in the Hollywood is exactly enough. So that is nice. And yeah, he cannot declare war because he has no rocks left. We would always win that war. But you can declare aggressions or also display impacts. It's still somewhat open, I think. We can defend this plunder. If we couldn't, that would be huge. Then we might just lose the game. We didn't have the defense card. I mean, maybe we could invest even a little more to defend if we didn't have it, but it was definitely good to have it and be able to defend this. He actually sacrificed here, got even a bit stronger, goes for Marie Curie instead of Steve Jobs. I guess with the plan of following up with another aggression, testing if we have even one more defense card here, or forcing us to invest into military to be able to defend. I thought here his better plan is actually to take jobs, also to go for democracy now and take jobs and get 3 techs out still. That's exactly the rocks he has, and he can create 12 cultures still with jobs, as opposed to Marie Curie's 6 culture, just 3 culture income. But yeah, she gives some extra strength, which maybe enables to win an aggression actually. If he doesn't have impacts, and I think I'm winning most impacts, and that one impact he wins, impact of science, I see. So he might be in the situation where he wants to go for an aggression, which is further enabled by Marie Curie. He still goes for this democracy and takes the reserves away. I could still use that with the Harvard College. Takes movies in hand to be able to get one more tech out. I do have the impact of tech, and I decide to seed it. It will be equal, but I get those 3 culture for seeding. Population was seeded by him. Yeah, and then this last turn is just developing the tech. Can still just get another opera out and finish the wonder. This opera is worth 12 culture. It's 4 culture income with Dietrich and then 8 for the Hollywood. And I think even if I don't build it and build a unit, I cannot defend if he sacks a tank. So overall I was willing to build that opera instead of defending. And I think I would do it even if that unit would defend. I think the expected value of building this is a bit better, because it still might be that he otherwise has just some impact that he plays, which also gives him some culture. So overall, this is certain 12 culture, and maybe worst case, I lose 14 to an armed intervention here. Yeah, but I didn't have the option to defend anyway, so I was forced to make the better play anyway. Armed intervention is played, and he wins that, but we see this Hollywood was just too good. The opera, the culture income that I created, and the Hollywood put me to, more than 190 culture already, and I did seed a lot of those impacts. None of the impacts are high impact, but all of them give me a bit, and in the end, even that aggression doesn't do anything. There was an impact of industries. Wonders is +4. Technology is then equal, but 3-4 seeding, and the progress still also just 26 to 22 is also not that huge, but definitely enough to win this game thanks to this Hollywood in the end, and the timely opera, I would say. Even though in H3 it looked open, in the end I won it. Maybe this game was that one turn too long for that no rock income play. In the end, we did see that he ran out of steam. He did invest heavily into this military for a war territory, which didn't really do anything. Maybe if he invests into building more multimedia and or movies, maybe at that point, maybe he can still, he can't really go for a wonder here, I guess. Maybe it was his best play actually. He also used this wave of nationalism, right? to create some threat here. But it wasn't enough. I think it was just this one turn too long. It was now round 18. If it's round, sometimes two-player games only last 15 turns or 16, and then he might be in a better spot to win the game. But since he was on a theocracy until almost the very end, and I guess I was somewhat cautious of not taking too many cards away from the row to speed up the game, so in the end it lasted 18 rounds, and then he ran out of steam, I guess. But still, yeah, interesting game. Last game of the season. I'm very happy with the performance overall of the season. I am actually a bit sad, obviously, that I missed out very narrowly on winning that. If you remember, game against PV4, if I won that. One food that was missing. There was literally one food missing, I think, to win the season. But yeah, that's how it is. I'm still very happy. Thank you for watching, guys. I do think I will go for covering the finals of the season now. PV4 versus Zaru. I will try to go in blindly. If someone sends me a game code and I don't stumble upon the results, maybe we can expect it at the end of the week or something. Depends on how fast they play. My last game against Zaru did take a while, so it was only finished 4 days ago, or 3 or 4 days ago. That's why it only got uploaded yesterday. And this game, sometimes the games are quicker, sometimes they take longer. I think Zaru is someone who does like to take some time in difficult game states. Not excessively, actually. He's a very pleasant player, time-wise. He does play his one turn per day at least, sometimes multiple. Yeah. I also managed to do that in this season. It's sometimes hard to do because you just want to play the turn, but I think especially in the game against Gross, I only won because I locked out of the game sometimes and then went back to the game with a fresh mind and saw some things that I didn't see at first. Yeah, I'm rambling. I'm saying goodbye. See you again at the season conclusion. And I guess, I don't know what will happen in a few months, but I am somewhat motivated to do this again with the two-player season. Also, I think the World Championship third stage should start at some point, and I should be part of that, probably. I'm one of the seeded players, and I think I start in third round. Some of the players only even just start at fourth round, I think. Maybe that's also something I might be willing to cover. Alright, guys, thanks for watching and have a good one.